All right, check, check. Teeth, pearly yellows. Yep, looking good. No boogers. No, no. All right, looking good. Looking good. Plenty of place for a big old butt. All right, got a big old butt. Oh, there he is, right there. There's one buttosaur. You want to come up, Pablo? Say hello. Here comes old Pablo. All right. Hello, everybody. All right, got my false flag shirt. A false flag. All right. Oh, look at this guy. Look at these guys. Hi. Right, so we're right by the Wi-Fi, so there should be no interruptions. Merry Christmas to one and all. Merry Christmas. Say prayers, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for allowing Jesus to come in our lives. Don't know why we were chosen to live in a place where we can recognize Jesus freely. Let's not take advantage of that. Let us always remember Jesus and his death on the cross, solely for the salvation of people who hate him and people who love him. May we learn from Jesus. Maybe read his, I don't have it in front of me. Maybe read his words and follow them near and dear our heart, knowing full well that we're going to stumble on the way. And when we do, to get up on our feet and on our knees and ask for forgiveness. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. So Merry Christmas, y'all. It's I love Christmas, man. Hello, Jill. So well, the suburbs were a mistake because they had the gas company, Big Oil there, Bob. You know that. Come on. You know, Bob got Big Oil. Rockefellers. Nothing conspiracy there, though, with old Big Oil. In fact, I was just reading I just got done reading that Rudolph Diesel book. And I didn't realize that Rockefeller did not like old Big Rudolph, that's for sure. So anyway, Merry Christmas to y'all guys, actually. No regrets, says Mike Ski. Mike Skiing says, thanks for your videos. I chose to retire last year. No regrets. Yeah, 100%, man. Sean Maddox says, Merry Christmas from Columbus. Back at you, Sean. Brian says, Jesus is the reason for the season. Merry Christmas. Yep. Liberty says, Merry Christmas. How dare you guys say Merry Christmas? Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Yep, yep, yep. Back at you. Back at you. Anyway, so all right. So I'm gonna hold on. I'm just gonna go get my tea real quick. Where are you at, Mike Sky? What part of the world do you live in? My man Kenny's showing up. Just real quick. I'm gonna go get my hot tea. I'll be right back. I'll be right back. Oh yeah. I can get my hot tea. I'm back. Coming. Tom, que paso? Prairie Mark, Indie Banana. All right, right on. Indie Banana. Hey, you're an Indian Banana, just like Jill. Got invited with a team I used to manage last Wednesday. Nice time, nice people. But Jill says, glad she retired once you did. Yeah, man. You know what I'm saying? Christmas party sound like hell on earth, to be honest with you. Isn't Diesel Books author Meg Kelly? Wow. I did not know that. Is that true? The guy who wrote it's interesting you say that, Mike Sky. Mike is high as the sky because he's retired. Interesting you say that because I was wondering why that got so much Like I had never heard this guy, and I was like, why is this getting like accolades from prominent people? It didn't make any sense to me. So that might be right. Might be right. Top of the morning to you, our decaf. That might be right, man. That's interesting. Megan Kelly gets around, you know what I'm saying? Who's the other chick that Sean Hannity divorced his wife for some Fox News lady, Ashley or Ansley or Aisley, somebody. I don't know. Sean Hannity, what a clown. I'd never like that. I don't want to get into it. There we got my man Coffee for one. Retired in North Carolina. All right. Retired 2 days ago. Right on. One man sold. All right. Right on. Prairie Mark says, hey, Prairie Mark got his first Social Security check in early January. What am I going to do with all that money? You're going to send it to me, Mark. You're going to send it to me. For all the entertainment I've given you free of charge, man, send it to me. Glenn Sutton's in San Diego. My daughter and wife went to San Diego last week and doesn't do anything for me, man. I like the idea of having orange trees. They saw some orange trees and some lemon trees. I like that a lot, but I don't like sun all the time. I don't like it at all. That's for me, it's depressing. I need to have some gray, dreary days. Not all the time. Not all the time. Hey, look at John Gen X. There he is. So John said he retired in March. Funny how, would you make up your mind, boys? Good night. All right, all right, you want to jump up here and say hello to everybody? Come on. Let's go. Go say hi. Come on. No. All right, make up your mind. What are you doing? There we go. Here he is. Give me his antibodies. Yes, sir. From Pablo's butt to my mouth. That is fantastic. That's why I don't get sick. Let's see if they can make up their mind. What was we just saying here? But John says he retired in March. Funny how things I worried about the most, money and health insurance, weren't a big deal. Well, I mean, you've only been retired since March. It's actually kind of like I had a guy, one of my, not a mean guy or anything. He just commented that, I know you say spending goes down, but I had 4 months into retirement and spending hasn't gone down for me yet at all. I've spent more money. I said, oh, dude, come on. Some people just are way too literal. I'm like, look, spending goes down. The trajectory of spending over the course of retirement goes down. And that's not saying it's going to go down in the first 4 months. I mean, give me a break, dude. I was like, oh, he's like, again, he wasn't like bashing me. It's just like, that's not true for me. My spending's gone up. I said, because he said, well, all I did before is I worked and I slept and I ate. That's all I did. So now I'm traveling. You think? Michigan's in the house. Brother-in-law Rule just terminated 4 chickens for dinner. Big energy news here. The nuke up the road is at end of service. They're going to build a 900 megawatt natural gas plant, replace it. Lots of jobs building it. Or why don't they just upgrade the nukes, man? We need both. But hey, better freaking natural gas and solar. Did you hear the big news today? Let me show you guys this. This is fantastic. Freaking American Indians are kicking ass and taking names. So we just found out today, if I can find it. Hold on just a second. All right. Watch this. If I can. Come on, man. Oops. Well, see all these windmills right there? They're all going to have to be taken down because some tribe in, let's see if I can't find it. Hold on just a second. I'm not going to find it. Some tribe, oops, oh, jeez Louise. Hold on. I can't find my post. I don't know. Oh, I posted on my locals channel. There it was. My local. So some tribe, and I'm not sure exactly where. Right here. Yeah, right here. So federal judge sides with Osage Nation, orders removal of 84 wind turbines. The fight against Rome-based Enel, which is some stupid, horrible wind turbine plant place, went south. The Tulsa federal court. That's the Osage. I guess the Osage tribe is in Oklahoma or something like that. And they said it repeated objections because it went on the tribe's land. The longest running legal battle over wind energy in American history. They're going to have to take down 84 windmills. How that just, if that doesn't make you happy. Under this Osage Allotment Act of 1906, the tribe owns the rights to minerals beneath the land it bought from the Cherokee Nation in the late 1800s. Those mineral rights include oil, natural gas, and the rocks that the company mined and crushed for the wind project. By mining without permission, the company violated the tribe's sovereignty. That makes me so happy. Take that big win. Friggin' kicking ass, American Indians. Love you. Perception is better than other, I guess, but the other two nukes in Ohio are getting waste fuel generators to pair with them. So at least it's, yeah. I mean, I look, man. That's for sure. Yeah, did Gretchen Which get half-wit ban all fossil fuels? I mean, that's there's more to the story than that because that's just idiotic. I think they're trying to say by 2050 they want all fossil fuels to be gone. Look, these guys are falling apart at the seams. It's freaking fantastic to witness. I love it. Of all the like, I like commies better than I like greenies. You know what I'm saying? Because greenies are just watermelons. They're commies on the inside, but the green on the out. At least commies tell you they don't want you to have private property rights and all this stuff. Greens try to pretend you can have your current lifestyle with the stupid green stuff, and you just can't. It's impossible. It's an impossibility. And when you call them on it with just basic math, you just basic arithmetic. You don't need to be a PhD in friggin', silly astrophysicist because that's just silly. I mean, no brains in that. But to be a PhD in mathematics, you don't even need to be a PhD in mathematics to say your numbers are just wrong. They just are. It's easy to do this. And they said, well, the technology's coming. It's okay. Well, why don't we wait for the technology to come before we do all this? How about that? Well, no, because I gotta get paid. Yeah, I get it. Sergio in the house. Right on, Sergio. Look at my man CB crushing. I love fossil fuels shirt. I also got I love Canadian pipeline shirt. Michigan, yeah, right. Michigan gets awful cold. Yeah, that's it's idiotic. These people are just dumb, man. It's actually they're literally just dumb. Yeah, Pablo does rule. Yeah, San Diego did. I don't know. I like the orange trees and stuff, but I was like, nah, you can keep it. I like having some bad days, man. I love sitting around with a book. In the bad cloudy days out there, cold, rain, or snow. I love it, man. I love sitting around with a book while that's happening. All right, so here's my man Richard. I love your insight. Would love your insight. Money my TSP, but move to the private sector now. 401k with Voya. Should I move my TSP funds to Voya, or does it not matter? Yeah, I mean, it used to be you want to keep the TSP at the TSP, but nowadays the TSP is just. And we got Alan over there on Facebook. Thanks for jumping on Facebook, Alan. Appreciate it. Again, if we got 102 on here right now, 79 are on the main channel, one's on Facebook, and one's on my other Josh Scanlon YouTube thing. So if you're not seeing some of the comments, most of the comments will be on the Josh Scanlon or the Heritage Wealth Planning YouTube thing. TSP used to have a competitive advantage with their low fees. Those days are gone now, and it's just such a pain. And it's only getting more expensive because of stupid mutual funds that they offer. So, I mean, for me, if I can't tell you what to do, Richard, I don't know you from Adam. I don't see any benefit of the TSP. The G fund used to be the significant reason because the G fund's explicitly guaranteed not to lose money. That's just a fact. You can get explicitly guaranteed not to lose money well, maybe not a 401k, but certainly in an IRA with just certificates of deposit. I mean, that's just a fact. Now, G fund is actually less risky than CDs because CDs are FDIC insured, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. But the G fund is literally insured by government bonds. I mean, it's little government bonds that can't go down. Contractual obligation with the thrift savings plan. So the G fund, the TSP, I love the G fund, but in of itself, is that enough to keep me at the TSP? Nah, I wouldn't. But again, I don't know you, and I don't know what Voya is offering. Voya is a insurance company. Yeah, right. Voya insurance company. Because then Voya used to be ReliStar or ING. I forgot. But anyway, either way. There's Jeremy. Where's your sister? Where's your sister? What town in Virginia, Jeremy? Gretchen has a gas stove coming out of her butt. You know what I'm saying? That's Gretchen for you. When do you think pulling from money market and great interest for growth opportunities? I'm not sure what you're saying. You're getting great interest in the money market right now, so I'm not. What do I? ING was Voya, yeah, or Voya. No, Voya was ING exactly. So ING bought out ReliStar, or ReliStar bought out. I can't remember. The whole thing is so silly. I'm not sure what you're saying here. When do I think there's good growth opportunities? So you're getting great interest in money market. So your question is, Alan says, when do I think pulling from my money market and great interest for growth opportunities? I'm not sure those are competing things because we are getting great interest in money markets right now. If you're saying, when do I think the stocks are going to take off? Well, they have. I mean, they've been taking off the whole year. We've had a significant run for sure. So, yeah, but you don't want that all the time, though, Tom. That's the issue, man. You don't want 77 all day long. Yeah, historically, the Fed has lower rates than president of the banking cartel wants Biden. Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, who knows? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if this is, see, the problem again, I don't want to get into it. I just don't want to. It bores me. Everyone thinks the Fed raising interest rates will cause the inflation to go down. Big time, long time, says Martin Hegarty. Martin in the house, Chicago police. Everyone thinks the Fed raising interest rates, and it's just not, man. I mean, as my man here says, in fact, this is a book I got sent to Denise, by the way. But what my man says here is right here. Where was it? I'm not going to find it. Anyway, basically says the inflation was going down even before the interest rates were raised by the Feds. Inflation was dropping. It's just the whole thing is so stupid. Oh, the Fed raised rates, inflation went down. The Fed lowers rates, inflation goes up. It's just silly. It's silly, and yeah, people get it. They'll think it's true just because it's so simple. Oh yeah, I get it, Tom, but not year round is what I'm saying. Yeah, I like Martin Armstrong. I haven't followed him for a while. I like Martin Armstrong. And I like what's his name? Freaking the guy used to be a stockman with Reagan. Dude, I got no thoughts on small caps. I just have VTI. If you, I mean, look, I'm a boring investor. I like VTI, Vanguard Total Index. That's it. I have no, and that has, 70% of VTI. Hey, my man Alonzo in the house, right on. Got Alonzo Hall, the all-star advisor. All right. And he was voted on by Alonzo. There's actually a guy. I can't remember where I saw this thing. I think it was in Michigan, as a matter of fact. He goes, the world's best realtor, voted on by, it was like I think when we were driving in Michigan someplace, and I saw this sign that said, Tim Smith, the world's best, voted the world's best realtor. And underneath that, it said, there's a little asterisk that said, voted on by Tim Smith. I said, I want to hire that guy just for that clever. I liked it. So Alonzo is the all-star financial advisor, as voted on by Alonzo. Yeah, so I don't. Anyways, Stockman, who used to be on the OMB, Office of Management Budget for Reagan, and then he flipped out because of debts and deficits. And I mean, it's just the guy's just wrong. I don't know what to, Peter Schiff, all these guys. I can't remember Armstrong. I like Michael. You should read some up on Michael Hudson. Actually, that's a guy I've been following. I wouldn't say all that actually. But I'm there's a different economics that I've since gone down the path of, because these guys are just wrong. I mean, the Keynesians were wrong. The socialism is always wrong. The monetarist of Milton Friedman was wrong, and as such, you got to say, who could be right? And I'm starting to go into the anti-free trade thing, because I think a lot of this has been perpetuated by big corporations who want basically free trade, free labor, and they have no national alliance, if that makes sense, and that's bad. And so anyway, the Michael Hudsons of the world and things of this nature are starting to be more and more keen on, because I think the other guys I've been following have. I love ITB. I don't know what ITB is, Alonzo. Yeah, working from home, man. Yeah, go lazy. Well, I think for Alan, so I would go lazy with FBALX with a bunch of cash. That's what I would do. So for me, I got a bunch of cash, I got a bunch of long bonds, and I got half in VTI. I love it. Okay, gotcha. Alonzo, you've been drinking again. You've been drinking, Alonzo. My goodness. What do you think about age in bonds? I don't know what age in bonds. Oh, if I'm if I'm 60 years old, have a the fruits of graft. All right, let's take a look. Well, I'm interested in that. I want to look at the other book that guy recommended, Javier. Michael is a Jewish last name, and Javier last week was the Michael. I can't remember. I just remember it's a Jewish last name, and Javier is not the biggest keen guy on Jewish people. If that makes sense. And so it was very interesting to me because a Jewish guy writing to basically say of a cartel that was that Javier liked. I'd like to hear that. I'd like to read what he says. I look because I don't. We. I literally don't. People get on the Jews, they get on the Catholics, they get on the Muslims. All that stuff just bores me. It really, really does. I find it like, all right, because all these Jews are out there plotting. All these Papists are out there plotting. They're all plotting. Everybody's plotting all the time. I mean, my goodness, it's just it just bores me to death. Like, oh my goodness, they're out to get us. I'm like, I just hate that stuff. I hate it. It's like, dude, if they want to get you, they're gonna get you. I mean, that's all there is to it. If they want to, and who are they? Well, those guys. Who? Well, the Jews or the Papists or the friggin' the Muslims or the friggin' what's the Putin? Like, oh, I can't take it, man. It's no different than the left who thinks like Trump is a Klansman. There's Klansmen under every bed. I'm just like, I get so tired of all that crap. So look, I thought for sure under Obama we were going to hyperinflation. This is the funny thing. People think maybe Liberty 1776. I've had people call me a big liberal. I'm not, man. I've become a lot more far right than I've ever been in terms of in social conservatism. That's just a fact. But I got the idea that you can't look at you have to be able to look at what these guys predicted, and they were just wrong. They were just flipping wrong, man. We did not have mass inflation when Obama and Bush before that were spending like drunken sailors. We just did not. I mean, so we can't sit there and say, well, this time is different. No, it's just not. I've done this a million times on showing the logs in terms of how just like this, instead of like just jumping like that, if you look at it from a log scale as opposed to whatever the other scale is, it's just not that big of a deal. And yet people want to scream bloody murder because it's basically whoever's in office, man. Biden's doing it to us. All right, well, Trump had massive deficits too. Well, yeah, but and I'm like, no, see, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to hear any of that. It was Biden, it was Trump, it was Obama, it was Bush. They all say the same thing. Obama said against Bush that it's un-American to have these deficits, and he turned around to have even bigger deficits. Oh, and it's just, hey, look at my man, sub-bet Olympia, sub-bet Olympia. All right, on, brother or lady. That's freaking awesome. Look at Dick Childers, 80s, and got finally no mortgage. So you're 80 years old, Dick, and you got no mortgage finally? That got feel good. I was going to look at that today. Look at my man Chuck Burkett. The 90. Are you in Philippines right now, Prairie? Or are you in Montana? Prairie Mark crushes. I don't. Prairie Mark. If I ever made it seem like I did not feel for you with your loss, I absolutely apologize. I did not mean to. If I ever did, in terms of you can say what you want to say if you want to let people know what happened. But every time I see you post, I always say, I wonder if Prairie Mark ever thought I was like not about what happened to you. And I just always wanted to ask you to forgive me if I did. I did not mean anything like that. I just, in terms of what happened to you. But again, you don't have to say anything if you don't. But I don't know. I thought, basically we're kind of goofing on each other. But then I thought about it. And I said, because when my wife's friend lost her daughter, I said, man, I said, I hope people, because look, I will never take back what I said about this, and I'll never take back what I said about the silliness of the COVID fear mongers. However, if that came across as I'm being curt about people's losses, I don't mean it like that, and I certainly never intended for that. But when it came to the midst of the fight against the freaking Nazis that were basically trying to kick down doors and make you do this or you couldn't do that, there had to be a pushback, and we pushed back hard enough to get them to stop. And now that we're starting to see the pushback against that a little bit, the Republican Party is starting to get a little bit ahead of that. Finally, it only took. Finally, you know what I'm saying? Not nearly enough for me, but there's enough Republicans who are starting to take the lead. The RNC, by the way, has the least amount of money they've had since 2016. I wonder why? Because we all know the RNC is completely corrupted, 100%. Completely corrupted. And I was reading today, my man Sundance at the Conservative Treehouse, who thinks Kevin McCarthy will be the new RNC head. And I'm like, that just shows you again, they're corrupt as all can be. Don't give money to the RNC, give money to the individual candidates if you're going to do that. Anyway, I want to see what this fruits of graft is here. Hold on. I wish I could stay focused. Hold on. The fruits of graft. All right. So this is the fruits of Wayne Jett sounds familiar to me. That kind of reminds me of the guy, Dr. Doom, Harry Dent. I think Wayne Jett, if that's the same guy, I'm not sure. The Fruits of Graft by Wayne Jones Jett. Let's take a look here. We'll share what this looks like here. Okay, so Wayne Jones Jett, The Great Depression, Then and Now. All right. Let's take a look what old Wayne Jones Jett says. Who and what caused the Great Depression is reoccurring in America today. It bores me so much. The book answers these questions. The facts will shock you and alter your view. Americans misled about the Great Depression. Americans are not a classless society. The majority are productive middle class. Class warfare is not waged by the people themselves, by a small, powerful circle of ultra-rich. They dominate a two-class society with full power. Yep. We call mercantilists, 100%, man. These dominant elite were called mercantilists. I agree with that 100%. They kept the Dark Ages dark. The Dark Ages really weren't that dark. Until commoners want political. Let's see. All right. Yeah. All right. I don't know. Yeah, it just kind of again goes to the I 100% think there's a globalist elite without question. In the World Economic Forum is part and parcel of that. It just bores me always. Frankly, they're doing this or they're doing that. And I'm like, well, what are you doing? And I'm not. This isn't my man who ever said to read this book. But all right. So anyway, go back to Age and Bonds. So I want to talk about that Hank Reardon from what's that book? Atlas Shrugged. By the way, man, been walking a lot lately. Been listening to a lot of books. I've listened to Atlas Shrugged, 11 hours, and I'm about 60% into Salem's Lot by Stephen King. That's 17 hours. Dude, I'm telling you, man, you can buy these, you can download these books on audio from your library. Like it's called Hoopla. It's free through Fulton County Library. So you got two things. You got Libby and Hoopla. And those are through your library apps. So you can download books and books on audio. Freaking, it's awesome, man. Anyway, so look at your local library. You'll be download books on audio books you can read and stuff. It's great. Anyway, so look, man, I think right now bonds are attractive. And then I think the other guy, whoever said that Chuck B in the house, he's going to rap for us. He said Vanguard talks about bonds overweighting. I completely agree with that. I just, again, 1 to 3 years, I think bonds have massive upside with a limited downside for sure. And anyone would concur when I said I did not always think this. If you looked at my retirement planning course, you will notice I said stay away from bonds for sure because there is no upside in bonds. And I was 100% right. In fact, I was looking through my old videos. I noticed I did a video in 2022 that said I was expecting a market crash. I've also mispredicted stuff too, but I was right there. I mean, so I've been right, man, probably 60% of the time and 40% of the time wrong. I'll take that. But absolutely, I think bonds in the next 1 to 3 years have great upside. Now, you're never going to get more than the current yield in bonds in any longer term. So always remember that. If the 10-year, I cannot stress this enough. Right now, the 10-year yield on the 10-year, I just understand this, please. The short-term opportunity in bonds is huge. Right now, the yield on the 10-year treasury is 3.9. Over the next 10 years, you're not going to get anywhere. You'll get about 3 3/4 and 4. That's it. That's it, man. Now, the next 1 to 3 years, I expect to get much more than that. I do. Simply because if you look at the massive decline in bonds over the last 3 years or so, there's going to be a pushback, a jump back up for sure. I mean, right now they're trading at discounts. So anyway, so you'll recoup some of this money, but for basically one to for a 5 to 10 year time frame, you're looking at about 4% in 10-year bonds. But you can even go to 30-year bonds. Look at this 30-year bond, 4.05. That's a 30-year bond. It's nuts, man. And if you just look at the year to date on this guy, look at that this decline over here on the 30-year. I mean that's not inflationary. I don't understand. All these part two of this, if I may. Oh my goodness. I cannot believe how many people think the bond market, the interest rates will go down once the Fed starts dropping them. I'm like, you're too late. You're too late if you wait for the Fed to drop to take advantage of bonds going up. You're too late. Let's take a look at what. Let's go to Vanguard. The Fed. Only thing the Fed controls are the short-term bonds. That's it. I mean, like literally, the T-bills. That's it. They don't control the yields on long term. I mean, they can control the buying. I get all that. They don't control the short term. They don't control the long term rates. They don't. And I mean, again, you can make an argument. Well, they do if they bought bonds and sold bonds. Yeah, I get that. But in terms of defining the interest rate, they don't. Let me just show you. So let's look at EDV. And this is not for you guys to buy EDV. I just want to show you here. 1 second. I cannot stress it. I cannot see. I tell you how many comments people show. They said, well, I'm going to wait for the Federal Reserve lower rates, and I'll jump into bonds and say it's too late by then. You can't wait that long. If you think bonds have upside, you got to get in there now. Don't wait. But they'll cut rates. I'll make the bond prices go up. So I own, by the way, disclosure, I own $50,000 in here, something like that. I don't even know what I got. But I own quite a bit of this. All right, so right now you're seeing a year-to-date return of 86 basis points. All right, you're like, oh my goodness, that's nothing. But then we're going to go to, let's see here. We're going to go to, where do I want to go? I want to go to, let's see if this is long-term bonds, by the way. Can I just do yeah, so it's gone from 62 to 80 in basically the last 6 weeks. I mean, that's gone from 18. Look at that right there. There it is right there. That's 2 months. Last 8 weeks, 2 months. It's gone from 62 to 80. It's up $18. I just bought another calculator. I didn't bring it. It's up $18 in the last 18 bucks. Oops, wrong one. $18. Oops, I keep doing the wrong thing. Scanlon, you are one drunken dumb idiot. All right, 62. It's up 29% in the last 8 weeks. 29%. And yet even now it's still only at year to date. I think I saw 60 basis points or something like that. No, 1 second. Year to date. Right there. That's how far down this guy was. This guy was down over 60% from 3 years ago. 60 flipping percent. It's only clawed back 29% of that. I mean, we got a long way yet. So anyway, the point being is that the bond market still has massive upside relative to the risk. And don't forget, you're still getting, right now we're just hanging tight. You're still, what's the yield in this? 4.5 or something like that. Basically 4 1/8. The yield has gone way down because the yield is bordering on 5%. These are long-term bonds, very volatile, mind you. I mean, look, you got smoked in this guy over the last. Look at this for 3 years, you've averaged negative 20% a year for 3 years. Crazy. Anyway, so the point being is, how do I think agent bonds? I love it. I just think that is a move. But it's market timing. Damn right, it's market timing. I'm like, dude, I want to time the market to take advantage of the opportunity that presents itself. And right now, the bonds present themselves very, very attractively for sure. And then you capture some pretty easy gains. Most likely, I don't know. I mean, my goodness, I put my money where my mouth is, and then when it's done, you go back to a VTI in cash, or my man said FBALX in cash, because cash is paying. Probably start. Well, it hasn't dropped yet because the Fed hasn't lowered yet. So Vanguard money market what's the money market here? What's the VFMXX? Is that what it is? VFMXX. Yeah. Vanguard federal money market right now is paying. It's kind of a special feeling When you're out on the street alone, sailing on the full and bright clear water. 5.3. 5.3. Man, that's what I'm saying. You got 5.3 just sitting idle in cash. 4.5 in long-term government bonds with massive upside. And then you got your stocks still, this is exactly what I have. A 50, 25, 25 or something like that. I don't know what my percentages. I don't know in terms of exact percentages, but I have a significant amount in long bonds. I got a lot more in cash than I have. I guess I'm not quite. I don't know. I probably am. I don't know what I'm at. I actually, now I think about it, I'm not quite sure because I sold some cash and I bought some long bonds. I still got a lot more cash than I have long bonds. And I still got a lot more stocks than I have. So I'm not sure. But ideally, I want 50, 25, 25, if that makes sense. 50% stocks, 25% long bonds, 25% cash. And I'm not there, but I don't really pay much mind to it because it's just, I don't need the money anytime soon. But anyway, so man, if let's actually take a look at what Vanguard's saying. So let's take a look at their capital markets assumption here. And we did this a couple of weeks ago, either here or I think it was on my locals live stream actually. But we talk about, we did. I think it was locals live stream. We talked about the Vanguard capital's market assumptions. So let's go down here. Monetary policy will bear its teeth in 2024. The U.S. exceptionalism is set to fade in 2024. We expect monetary policy to become increasingly restrictive. That means higher interest rates. I mean, that doesn't make sense. Restrictive means higher interest rates. I'm not quite following that. Why would they say it's monetary? I mean, they're not going to be tightening lending. I don't get that. That doesn't make sense to me. We expect monetary policy, maybe other countries, I guess. I guess this is global. Yeah, global economy. China's going to recession. China's going to, it looks like could be potentially a Great Depression. The economy will experience a mild downturn as a result. Why do they say increasingly restrictive? And I don't buy that. Why is that Vanguard? We expect monetary policy. I'm not sure if they're talking about the U.S. because no one's talking about the Fed being more restrictive. I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me. Can you all see what I'm looking at here? Yeah, I don't know what they're talking about. Then. All right, the economy will experience a mild downturn. It's necessary to finish the job returning inflation at target. No, there's not. I guess it's so stupid. All right, anyway, zero interest rates are yesterday's news. I don't know why they're saying this. This is weird to me. That's barring an immediate 1990 style productivity boom or recession is likely a necessary condition. The weakening demand of labor. I don't know even that to be true. Yeah, as central banks feel more confident in inflation's path towards target, we expect they'll start to cut policy rates in the second half of 2024. But they said that we expect monetary policy to become increasingly restrictive. That doesn't make any sense. Restrictive and cutting rates, that's loose when I don't understand what they're saying there. All right. I guess maybe they're talking about a quantitative tightening, which they're not buying. I mean, literally, so when the Fed, what they do is they buy assets, they buy bonds from the government. When they're buying bonds, they're putting cash out there. I mean, that's one way. When they're buying stuff, they're increasing the demand for that stuff. It's high, making the prices go up and the yields go down. And that cash is now flush at the bank, and theoretically the bank can loan it and stuff. That is being loose with the policy. And on top of that, it's a way to increase interest rates. And reduce interest rates. But no one considers that restrictive. So I'm not sure. I think there's a mistake there. I don't get it. That would not be restrictive. Restrictive is when they're selling bonds to take money back because they want to raise interest rates, and I don't know why. That doesn't make sense. If you're being restrictive, you want interest rates to go up. You want to buy back. You're basically selling bonds. You're buying them back. You're selling them, so you're getting the money back out of the money supply. I don't know why they're saying that. It's a weird one to me. Let's keep going down. Strange. I don't get it. All right, so let's see what else there. So that's Vanguard. GDP growth, Vanguard is saying about 0.5 in the U.S. Unemployment, whatever. Let's keep going down. Core inflation. What do they say? Core inflation. 2.5 in the U.S. All right, we'll see. Return to sound. Bonds are back. Yeah, that's what it was. I'm still confused why they said a restricted monetary policy. That doesn't make sense to me. All right. Despite the potential for near-term volatility, we believe the rise in interest rates is the single best economic and financial development in 20 years for long-term investors. I think I already read this one. Our bond return expectations have decreased substantially. We now expect U.S. bonds to return a nominal annualized, basically 5 to 6% over the next decade, compared with the 1.5 to 2.5% we expected before the rate hike cycle begun. I would actually lower that to about 4 to 5, frankly. Again, I'm talking government bonds. They're talking U.S. bonds, which include corporate bonds as well. Okay, I agree with that. Yeah, 100%. I completely agree with that, actually. Government bonds is really what I'm interested in. Government bonds between 4 and 5. 4. 4 for government bonds, 5 for corporate bonds. I think these guys are a little bit higher than I'd like. They're looking at 5 to 6. I don't see that. I don't think that. I think 4 to 5 is more likely. But either way, I agree with it that they're going to get the rate. The opportunity for bonds now is higher than it's ever been, probably my whole career, frankly. And I've been doing this since 1998. I agree. So I agree with that fundamentally. I just think they're a little bit more optimistic than I am. If reinvest in the income component, bond returns at this level will eventually more than offset the capital losses experienced over the last 2 years. By the end of the decade, bond portfolio values are expected to be higher than if rates had not increased in the first place. Yeah, I agree. Let's see. And they're saying a 60-40 portfolio, probability of achieving a 10-year annualized return of at least 7%. All right. What's this say? Long-term investors in a balanced portfolio have seen a dramatic rise in the probability of achieving a 10-year annualized return of at least 7%. The post-90 average from an 8% likelihood to a 40% today. All right, so they're still not looking at a 7% likelihood in terms of highly probably. I completely agree that. I still think 6. 4% on 6 even the high end. Five to 6, kind of what I'm thinking about for a 60-40 portfolio for sure. High rates leave equity rates overvalued. Yep. And they're right here. As a result, we have downgraded U.S. equity return expectations to basically 4 to 6%. So basically 5% on U.S. stocks and 5.5% on U.S. bonds. I agree with that. I got no qualm with that. So I'm down with that. So I think if you're looking at U.S. stocks to give you 5, I would probably say 5 to 6. U.S. bonds to give you 4 to 5, and I think if you split the difference in a 50-50 portfolio, you're looking at 5.5. 70-30 portfolio 6, 40-60 portfolio or something like that 5. I think it's gonna be very tight, like a tight shot group. Dustin Dodge, hey, look at my man Dustin. You got a guitar there, Dustin? You freaking playing some metal? I hope so. Getting kind of hot in here. Turn on the AC. These poor cusses in Montana are probably freezing. Yes, sir. There's pulverizer. Oh boy. I was hoping I didn't send pulverizer a notice. I was hoping he wouldn't join us tonight because we don't like that guy. I'm not ready to ban him, but like, man, just let's all like pretend pulverizer's not here. All right. Let's not pay any attention to pulverizer. Okay. He's like Rudolph. We won't let him play in any reindeer games. Pulverizer. I bet he's got a big red nose too. I bet he's drunk as a skunk. His nose is like just shining red right now. CB, look at my man CB back in Michigan. He's saying Michigan frozen like a rock, and yet there's CB. He goes to the Philippines, and Prairie Mark in Montana is in Philippines right now. They're going to fight about who's got the hottest Filipino wife. I'm going with CB. Yeah, I saw Mason Rudolph. Yeah, I was going for the Bungles, but they bungled. P. Mark, yuck! I hate that kind of traffic. Oh, that's traffic. I said the email exchange without posting. Okay. David's in the house. China going into depression. Yeah, I think so, man. I think so. And the reason is because they have so much they put so much emphasis on real estate. If you just look at what happened in Japan and other countries, and when you say depression, what exactly does that mean? Define it. I can't define it for you. It's going to be more than a recession, though. Anyway, they put so much emphasis on real estate, and it's just underperforming properties. They don't have enough people to live in these places, and so what happens, man? I mean, at some point, you gotta put cheeks in seats, and if you can't, how do you pay the bills? And you have to write off a lot of debt, and when a lot of debt gets written off, where's the growth come from? The same thing happened in Japan. Same thing happened in the United States. I think China is a hell of a lot worse, though. Andrew says our financial advisor. Oh yeah, what I'm saying. So after 2023, he's trying to show you that he's earned his fee for it, Andrew, 100%. Oh look, right there. Prairie Mark wants to fight CB. He's already. We're at 38 miles out of the city. A 3-hour drive in the traffic is heavy. Look at that. Look at that. CB is getting challenged with Prairie Mark to see who's got the hottest Filipino wife. EDV is holding zeros, 100%. Yes, sir. So remember, zero. The lower the coupon, the longer the maturity, the more volatile it's going to be. Right? So just keep that in mind, guys. The lower the coupon, so zeros are the lowest coupon. The longer the maturity, the more volatile it's going to be, which means it has more downside risk, but also has more upside risk too. Beware of immigration at Cebu. They try to make me pay my last 4 years of fees again. At all receipts and could prove as paid. I'm up 30% on EDV. Right on, says the dude. Liberty says I'm just happy not to have any debit. So Liberty doesn't believe in debit cards, and he's retired. He doesn't believe in debit cards. That's freaking awesome, man. Good job, Liberty. That's cool. Yeah, no, I don't know what it's like. I can only imagine it's got to feel pretty good. All right, let's see. I'm late on most things. Welcome to the club, Don. I'm early on most things, and you'd think that'd be good, but you'd be wrong. Differ we must about Steve Inskeep, about Abraham Lincoln. All right. I have Libby. Yeah, Libby crushes, man. Yeah, but see, you're just saying these titles, man. I need to know more. The titles in themselves doesn't. I need to know a little bit of a background. Liberty. That sounds interesting. Rules and collision, but it sounds like a Ruski, which I like, but I need to know more. Kevin's almost 6 years retired. Right on. Hey, look at you're up. What? You're up here, Denise? Well, Denise, if you're in Alpharetta, freaking, I can give you this book to take with you right here. I live in. I mean, literally, I'm right here, and Alpharetta is literally right there. What are you doing, Denise? Give me a break. It's all good, Prairie Mar. Look, and I don't want to even get the stupid things about vaccines because the YouTube don't like it, and it's water under the bridge now. But I had a guy post on my YouTube channel. I was talking about the old days of when everyone thought red meat was bad for you, and I said, yeah, science was screaming bloody murder about that back then. And this guy posted, goes, well, once we realize that science was wrong, or we've got new science, we change. I said, but the problem is the science never validated that to begin with, man. Just because a guy, and I'm not saying this for you, Prairie Mark, I'm just saying just because a guy in a white lab coat says it's true doesn't mean it's true. Just because a scientist says X plus Y equals Z does not mean X plus Y equals Z. It doesn't. And this is the thing. Well, the science declared it. No, science doesn't declare anything. People did. And if you look at the history of the insanity of the anti-fat crusaders, Ansel Keys and whatnot, and I think what's his name did a pretty good Malcolm Gladwell guy, and I haven't followed him for a long time, but I think when I used to follow him on his podcast, he had a couple of good podcasts about Ansel Keys. And in the Minnesota, the 7-country study where he just neglected to talk about countries that didn't follow his premise. And the whole point was Eisenhower, I think, had a heart attack. Eisenhower's chief medical doctor was tight with Ansel Keys. Ansel Keys, I think, was a pretty big guy, pretty vociferous. He says, oh, you got to get him off red meat and eggs and all that stuff. And so Next thing you know, Ansel Keys is, because he did the 7-country study, but he just neglected to tell everybody that he didn't report on some of the countries that went against his findings, and that got into the vernacular because Ansel Keys and Eisenhower's guy said, "Hey, everybody, don't eat meat and eggs and all that stuff, and eat margarine." And we even have freaking, because I love York peppermint patties, and they're BOGOs, buy one get one free on at Publix the other day. So I loaded up, and they're in the freezer. Every time I work out, I go down, I eat a bunch of York peppermint patties. It's my incentive to get me to work out. Anyway, my basement's my gym. It always says low fat thing, like that's as if it's healthy. It's just wrong. And this is the issue. I'm not anti-science, but just because some scientist says this doesn't mean crap to me. It doesn't. And we have experience on top of experience on top of experience that we should question these guys, especially the ICL, Imperial College of London, and that guy clown Neil, the hell was his name, Ferguson, because he was wrong all the time before. It's like having if you follow baseball, a 100 hitter, freaking the Mendoza line. So here's whatever, Mario Mendoza, whatever it is. So you bats under 200, something like that. And now you're going to say, Mendoza, I need you. I need a pinch hitter. Mendoza, I can do it. I can do it. It's like, Mendoza, you hit 200. That's why we call the Mendoza line. No, but this time I'm going to hit. I'll get a pinch hit. I'll hit a double. I'll bring a run in. Oh, okay. Oh yeah, 100%, Andrew. That's how they get in office and are set straight on how things are done in DC. Yes, sir. Hey, look at my Jeremy. Jeremy, have you seen the storm? I saw some of freaking. Yes, sir. I did see some, Jeremy. Are they up in your neck of the woods? The floods and stuff. Vanguard Admiral shares, Johnny Java, is you got to put in, I think, more than $10,000. It used to be 50. Now it's 10, I believe. And if someone correct me if I'm wrong, but you got to put in $10,000 and you get like 3 basis points lower on fees. So that's absolutely the way to go. You should at 100% get the Vanguard Admiral shares. It just takes more money to get there, but not much. Hey, look at my man Herky Jerky. He's Central Indiana, living a good life. Man, we got a lot of Indianas in here. Look at my man Roger the Dodger. He's 65, St. Louis, and retired. He's looking for a lady. Look at Mama and Bugs. Good evening. 401k investor probably moved to more bond fund. I have stock funds late. Yeah, see, I don't like that. So here's just a guy saying move to more bond funds out of stock funds late January, early February. I mean, I don't get why are we putting a time. Hey, look at Marie's in the house. What are you doing down there, Marie? What are you doing, Tejas? You riding bikes? Marie likes to ride bikes. She's a biker, not a motorcyclist, but a 10-speeder, whatever they're called. What they call it. My wife is great. Is all I need. Northern Michigan, frozen like a rock. Something like a rock. Every time you sing that, you think about Chevy trucks, not Bob Seger. Yeah. Anyway, if whoever just guys don't take it wrong, but this is literally market time. I'm going to wait for a specific time, and I'm going to jump. I just don't believe that at all. I mean, you could do that. I'm just saying, why would January, late February be the time to late January, early February be the time to get out of stocks, move into more bond funds? Now, you could make an argument. I don't buy this at all anymore. There used to be an argument. It's not the Santa Claus rally. I guess it kind of was. Anyway, you'd say when all the 401k, the bonus money, all that stuff got put into the market at the end of the year. When bonus money came along, there'd be a rally. Look, kind of like the dogs of the Dow, was they sell in May and go away or something like that. All this stuff, it's just like, what was I just reading today? I was just reading it today in a book, from Peter Drucker. All these pension managers says they're going to beat the market, and Peter Drucker says, this is 1975. Well, they can't beat the market because they are the market, and that's the thing is. There's just no found strategy that works better than other that you know about. Everyone knows about this stuff. the trend and momentum stuff, the dogs of Dow, the three factor, which is now what, seven factor, the French family stuff. All these things have been tried and analyzed every which way to Sundays for every single of these investment managers. They've got to get an inch ahead, and it works until it doesn't. And then why does it stop working? Who knows? But anyway, I hope you're okay up there, Jeremy. Damn, New Hampshire got flooded. That's crazy. Sorry to hear that, man. Yeah, grass-fed butters. No, it's not bad for you. It's good for you because it tastes so good. If it's in a book, it's got to be true, says Millhouse. You know what else Millhouse says? Millhouse would love being in New Hampshire right now because Millhouse had his flood pants, with the high waters. Because everyone laughs at me with high waters, but now look at me. My feet are wet, but my pants are dry because my high waters. Millhouse rocks. Eggs are literally, eggs are like the miracle food, man. It's so healthy for you. It's crazy how they got us to not eat eggs. Crazy. Harry Dent like zeros. Yeah, and Harry Dent's been wrong for 20 years now, but he was right in the 90s. It's an interesting thing about Harry Dent. He made a name for himself in the 90s, then he was wrong for the last 23 years. But I saw the Epic Times had a big thing with Harry Dent. Economists, well-renowned economist predicts economic calamity. I'm like, oh, I didn't know it was going to be Harry Dent. I was like, who's this now? I said, oh, Harry Dent. Man, okay. Never heard that before. Well, the climate does change 100%. I mean, that's the climate changes 4 times a year. Unless you live in San Diego. Yeah. Oh, here comes Cheesehead. Do-do-do-do, my cheesehead hat. My cheesehead hat, Eric. Does that make you happy, Eric? You happy that I got my cheesehead hat? I'm actually hoping. Aren't the Packers playing the Bills tonight? No, it's the Chargers playing the Bills. All right. That's it. 3,000 for Admiral shares. Wow. Thoughts on safe withdrawal rates during bridge period between. Oh yeah, dude, Don or Dan, dude. Yes, come on, Dan. All right. So my man Dan says thoughts on safe withdrawal rates exceeding 4% during bridge period between retirement and Social Security. Unequivocally, I deal with people. I don't have my chart up here. My thing. I deal with people like this all the time. They're taking 10% a year until they hit Social Security, and then it goes down to 3 or something like that. That's no big deal. 100%. Oh, dude, I've got that. It's one of my favorite books of all time, Johnny Java. 100%. The Treasure Principle. I cannot recommend that book enough. When I used to have clients, I used to give that, in terms of when I used to be a broker, I used to give that book out to all my clients. Every client, every new client I ever had, I give it out to them. Because I said, I want you to know how I look at the world. And if it's, if that's not the way you look at the world, that's okay. But you can drop me. But this is important to me. And I think I had one guy that was kind of offended by that. And then when I say offended, he was like an ass, but I think he was, I can't remember. I just remember he's like, I was like, you don't have to. I just want you to know this is the way I view the world. Randy Alcorn's book, The Treasure Principle, will change your life because it shows that you are a steward of God's money. God doesn't need your money. He needs to see how you are going to manage his wealth, not ours, his. And if you manage it poorly, well, you're probably not going to get more, and God probably won't be happy with it. But if you manage it well, you'll get more. I mean, can I guarantee you that? No. Kind of like these people have a picture of a I don't know, fancy sports car on the computer, like, oh man, that's what I want. I don't think that works, dude. Maybe it does if you take shortcuts, but I don't think that's what God wants you to do. Is like, man, I want that fancy car. I'm gonna do whatever I can to get that. Like you're almost like by fiat, you're speaking it to existence. You know what I'm saying? I don't buy that for 2 seconds. I don't think God looks kindly on that. Like, yeah, man, just wish for a new Porsche and magically you'll get it. I don't buy that at all. I don't think that's the way God rolls, man. I think God's like, this is my money. How are you serving my people with my wealth? Are you being a good steward or not? If your only sole reason for making money is to get that new car, I think it's gonna be harder to get. Now, I think Satan can come in there and say, "Hey, buddy, I got an offer for you. You can't refuse." You're like, "Okay, Satan," but I don't think God's like that at all. Yeah, great book, man. Marie likes e-bikes. Gotcha. The January Fest was called. Right on, Hank. My mom says I'm cool, man. Millhouse the best. Yeah, Harry Dent's been a bear for a long time. Read that the number one state, Arizona, retired, now banning air for Maine. Ugh, for the love of the good Lord, why? Oh man, I wonder how many. That's weird to me because there's a lot of snowbirds from Arizona that came from Wisconsin. I'm from Wisconsin. I get the package. I'm from Wisconsin. I'm Wisconsin. I live in Arizona. I can't do it. I just remember that Wisconsin, like, ugh. So when we were in Western Michigan, Kevin and I met at a Walmart one day, and I heard this lady with her freaking accent. I said, "Oh, it's grating to me that Western Michigan accent." I was like, "Yeah." We're just sitting there, and it's like I can't even do it because like I remember looking at Kevin. I said, "Man, we aren't in Georgia anymore." You know what I'm saying? Now, I like a Maine accent. I like the Maine and Boston accents. Maine and Boston's are different, don't get me wrong, but they're not New York. You know what I'm saying? And by the way, New Jersey is different than New York, just FYI. You can tell New Jersey, South Jersey, Philadelphia accent is different than North Jersey, too. North Jersey is kind of like New York, but the South Jersey is different. It's just different accents. Boston is different than Maine, believe it or not, but there's a lot of similarities there nonetheless. And I like that accent. The Southern accent is fine without question. I got no qualm with Southern accents at all. I like Southern accents for sure. That Wisconsin, Chicago accent, Michigan, oh, horrible. You guys should be ashamed of yourself the way you speak up there. My goodness. Wisconsin. Like, oh, we can open up the nostrils there a little bit, Denise, because Denise is from Wisconsin. Open those nostrils up. You say Wisconsin. Or so, Denise, how we do it? We say Wisconsin, con, not con. It's con. All right. I'm gonna con you. No, 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 no. It's not con. It's con. Con. All right. Like John. Hey, John. All right. So we say Whisk Johnson, but we pronounce a C instead of a J. So Wisconsin, not Wisconsin. No, that's not how we talk in America. We say Wisconsin. So try that these next time. All right. Because it's very, very important. Very, very important to get our pronunciation right as we assimilate in the United States. All right. So down east is definitely an accent. Right here. We don't have an accent. Down east is definitely an accent. Ah, Gordy, what? Maine's got an accent too. I don't know if I have an accent from Oklahoma. It probably got a southern accent, I'd imagine. So, but there's different southern accents too. Southern accent of Virginia, Western Virginia, is definitely uh, Minnesota. Minnesota, don't you know? I can't even do it, man. Nothing worse than a Minnesota accent. Face green smiling, face green smiling, face green smiling. Will Wisconsin land a big blonde hair, big blonde, ooh, gals, beer, cheese, and the crusher. I don't know what the crusher is, but that sounds all right. Big blonde chicks, beer, cheese, and the crusher. None in Traverse City. Gordon, are you from? I thought you're from Maine, Gordon. You're not from Maine. What are you saying? Down. I thought Gordon's from Maine. Are you from Maine, Gordon? What are you talking about? There's no accent in Maine. It's not just down east. It's every. I mean, for the natives. I mean, I had a massive accent when I first moved to the Washington D.C. area, and no one could understand me, so I had to work hard to replace it. That's why. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Um, I paid cash for a 2018 Challenger Hellcat. Yeah, we're calling the cops on you too. Was that like 750 horsepower or something like that? Uh, Jill's taking pre-tax money, 12%. Yeah, there you go. That's what I'm saying. Merry Christmas from California. Right on. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the prosperity gospel, Bruce. No way. That's not Randy Alcorn. No. No. And that's what I love about Randy Alcorn. He's not saying that at all. He's not saying, hey, you do this, God's gonna reward you financially. No, he's not saying that at all. But I can't stand that prosperity gospel. Like, I'm rich because God's blessed me. It's like, I think God has blessed everybody through his son Jesus. I don't think Jesus said, ah. Actually, someone was saying, who was it? I forgot. But there's and in Indians, all these Indians had died, and they're dirt poor, and so they're waiting on God, and God's behind his pearly gates and whatnot. And these Indians were up there like you're waiting in line to see God or something like that. And then God appears. He goes, hey, freaking Samir from the back, come on up, come on up. And everyone, all the Indians like, wait, Samir is freaking rich. What the hell, God? And he's like, well, you guys, I got a million of you guys, poor guys. There's a million poor guys waiting to get to heaven. You'll be with me shortly. I've never seen a rich guy though. So I want to see what he's about. Why was he able to do it? I'm butchering the story, but all these Indians like, man, God, now we got to wait behind the rich people here too. That's what it was. So all these poor Indians are waiting to go in the pearly gates, and God comes out. He's like, hey, all right, come on, everybody. But first, Samir, come on up. And everyone's like, but Samir is rich. What's going on? We got to wait behind these guys, behind the rich guys here too. And the guy's like, no, it's not you got to wait. This has been the first rich guy we ever had. I just thought that was crazy funny. Tim is in Northeast Maryland, right on. Medley. I don't even know what that stands for. Chris Santos. That means something to somebody. I don't know what it means. I guess some kind of Hawaiian thing. Peter Popper and the blessed oil that's going to get you a check in the mail. Bonds, text green, game over. I've been text. I don't get it, man. Here's my man Dean K in Michigan. Oh, that means Merry Christmas. All right. I just like to say aloha. That means hello and goodbye. Ever been to Scranton? Cold Speak, Henya? Henya, what the hell? Nope. If you claim Portland is part of Maine, well, it is part of Maine. I mean, come on. That's where I was born and raised. Definitely Portland is part of Maine. I know everyone's like, Southern Maine is Massachusetts. It's still Maine, man. It's still Maine. I don't, plenty of natives in Portland still. I mean, it's not like, you go to Arizona, you go to all these people moving in. It's been like that all over the place. Here's my man Andrew taking. I grew up in Southern Illinois, so Chucky B. People here in Chicagoland made fun of my accent when I moved here. That's funny. Oh man. All right, Josh, where you put your money? Maine's not gone all blue. But Gordon, man, why are you so depressed there, man? Come on, Gordon. There's Portland, Tennessee. Gordon, you're depressed here, man. Come on. So we know for a fact that Portland dominates Maine politics, just like freaking Fulton County dominates Georgia, just like Northern Virginia dominates Virginia. You know what I'm saying? And as such, we have to deal with it as hands. But when you say all blue, you're acting like the whole doggone state is all blue. It's just not. There's tons of Trump voters outside of that little corridor up there on the coast. You know what I'm saying? And Stephen King was griping about it. He's like, all these Trump people around. And it's great. Now, are there enough to change the legislature and the state? Probably not. But it's certainly not all blue. There's still plenty of Trumpers for sure. And just, be patient. They have LePage as a governor, and he was good. Now, the question is, will there ever be another Republican in the legislature? And I think, yeah. I think Massachusetts would be all blue for sure. I think there's like 3 state senator Republicans in Massachusetts, and they're all pro LGBT and abortion and the whole thing. But I don't think Maine's that bad yet. It's not. I think the state legislature is still, there's a lot that can change in a state legislature pretty quickly, actually. So anyway, I don't watch TV. Peter Popper is a scammer TV evangelist. So once you send him some blessed oil, then the checks will start rolling in. Oh boy. Okay, so here's Jim McDermott. Where would I put my money if your spouse will never put money in the market or she's high risk averse? Where would I put my money if my spouse will never put money in the market or bonds? I mean, if it's her money, I'd do what she tells me. Right now, I can't beat money markets at 5.3%, 100%. Merry Christmas to you, Mike. So, I mean, the thing that you want to be careful, Jim, is that you don't want to. If you lose money, you'll you'll hate it twice as much as you will love it if you make money. And that's just not a risk reward worth taking. I just telling you right now, man. So um, Hawaiian MC. So if my spouse is risk averse and she doesn't want to lose money, then I'm going to be very, very careful to not lose money because the upside is minimal and the downside is significant. And that's not a risk reward worth taking. All right. Yeah, most of Southern Maine, both like Massachusetts. So Portland cement rocks, cement shoes are big in New Jersey. We played Portland cement when we were in Little League 4 in Maine. Little League 4 is what we played, and we played Portland cement. We had Teamsters was one team, and I remember I was like, that Teamsters, I didn't know anything about it. They were green. Portland cement was blue. No, we were blue. We were light blue. No, it wasn't Portland cement. It's Portland glass. That's what it was. We were Casco Bank, Teamsters, Portland glass, and a red team, which I forgot what it was. Is it time to get out of SPACs and into? Yeah, I can't answer that, man. I don't know why you're out of S&P 500 for so long, but yeah, I don't know. I can't answer that. Is it time to get out of a money market that's paying 5 and into S&P 500? Why are we asking this now? We should have been asking this last year, frankly, because now we've had a nice run in the S&P 500 for the last year. So here's my concern, my friends. And Scott, I'm going to pick on you for a second. Now we're starting to hear people. This is FOMO, fear of missing out. Hey, right on, James. Right on. Look at my man James in South Georgia. So so here's Jim too, and that's starting to concern me a little bit. People are starting to get a little more. You told me to stay in SPACs. Yeah, well, then if we're still in SPACs, why would we get out now if we're still getting over 5%? I don't get why the change now. I mean, God bless the Teamsters, they're still paying. Well, it depends on what union you're in. So I am concerned, frankly, guys, that we have a lot of people that they're fear of missing out, that we're going to be seeing more and more. I should get back into stocks, get back into stocks, get back into stocks. And I've made it pretty clear that while the interest rates are still pretty good, you get it while the getting's good. I mean, you're getting 5%. And to get out of that, to get in the S&P 500, what purpose does that serve? Now, you could say because the S&P 500 is going to grow more than SPACs. I don't think that's going to be true. I mean, it could be, but I don't know. I certainly don't think I'm going to get more because even Vanguard says they don't expect that. And this is my concern, guys, is I'm getting this more and more like, oh man, I think because the markets last year, 2023, have done quite well. It done, the stock market, but we're still lower than we were at the beginning of 2022. And I'm just sitting there thinking, okay, if we can get by, and when I run my financial projections, guys, I'm using average rate of return between 5 and 5.5. That's it, with significant downside risk. SPACs right now, that's a Fidelity money market, by the way, and the Vanguard money market are paying over 5% with no downside risk. I mean, I can't guarantee there's not downside risk, but the downside risk, I mean, basically none. So if my financial projections are good with 5% rate of return with significant, with 10% standard deviation, which basically means a 25% downside. And right now I'm getting 5% with no standard deviation in terms of downside risk. So we're going to use those synonymously here. Why would I turn around and say, let me get out of what's paying 5 into something that's, I just don't get it. I'm like, ugh. So I'm getting this a lot. And it bothers me because that tells me something that people are getting the fear of missing out. And because they've seen the market come up. Now, look, I don't know. I can't remember what Scott's portfolio looks like. I don't know off the top of my head. But I'm just telling you, in my opinion, yeah, and Jill makes a good point. I think that she makes a good point. The deep state will move heaven and earth to prop up the economy and markets as much as possible. But can they? And that's the question. And I don't know. I don't know if they can. I mean, I just don't know. Now, what we've seen in Japan is different than the United States. Japan, the government wasn't buying bonds and selling bonds; they actually buy equities. Are stocks generally good in a well? So that's one of the things is don't fight the Fed. 100%. So stocks generally good in a new so my man here is making a good point. You don't want to fight the Fed. When the Fed's raising, that usually when stocks take a hit. 100%. But has the interest rate environment shrunk from the Fed's perspective? No, it hasn't. Has the interest rate environment shrunk from the market perspective? Yes, it has. That's why the bonds have done so well. So here, just let me go back to where my wife, we had some people over here a couple weeks ago, and the husband was talking about these stocks that he bought that did this that, and the other. Both Charlotte and I we're just too conservative. We want to lock in the easy gains. If that means we got to miss a grand slam, we're fine with that. I mean, stocks missing grand slams. Don't get me wrong, but if I can lock in the easy gain at 5%, and my expectations, and not just mine, Vanguard's many prognosticators' expectations are 5 and 6% in stock market. If I can get that, well, front run the Fed is, I think that's 100%, my man John. How much of the cuts are already priced in? I 100% think that's what's happening. What John is saying is like, look, this is where I think people make horrible mistakes. They're going to wait till the Fed does something on their longer term investments. The only thing the Fed is controlling, and again, they kind of control the long term if they want to buy and sell. I get that, but really the short term interest rate market, that's what they control. The short term, and we're literally talking T-bills. Yeah, I think you're waiting. You think it's the New Agers who start all that, Penelope? Think you're way to prosperity? I hate that crap. Ugh. Anyway, so more and more people I'm getting comments on, and I'm not mad at these people. You're saying, well, do you think I should get back into or get more into stocks, do that and the other? In my opinion on stocks, the stock market hasn't changed at all. It's actually gone down, as we just talked to earlier today about Vanguard, this live stream. Because interest rates are higher, that inherently means bonds are more attractive. And I don't like the way to do this in terms of how people look at the risk-free premium, but essentially they're saying, okay, the equity risk premium. Essentially, if historically stocks have given you 10 and bonds have given you 6 and stocks have given you 10, they consider that a 4% ERP, equity risk premium. Historically, you got 6 on bonds, you got 10 on stocks, you subtract them, and that's 4%. So whatever bonds are paying, add 4 to that. That's no different than the Dave Ramsey. Historically, you've averaged 12% a year, so if you can take 8% a year out, you're fine. That's the same thing. It's very linear, and the markets just are not linear like that. So there's no equity risk premium that you can lay your. And this is where James Glassman got in trouble when he wrote the book Dow. I think it was Dow 10,000 or something like that back in 1998 or 1999, right before the crash, or Dow 30,000. Maybe that's what he said. I can't remember. But anyway, he looked at the equity risk premium. He said the equity risk premium on stocks are significant because more and more people get in stocks, and it was faulty assumptions. And again, I'm not mad at James Glassman. No one knew. We didn't know that back then, but now we do. The equity risk premium on stocks is, again, you can use. I just think that's foolhardy because you're like, all right, I'll get 4% over the value of a bond. You're like, well, historically that's true, but you have to look at the difference in all these different, time frames. And again, 1948 to 1960, 1966, 1968, 1970. Hey, Jennifer Starks. Look at her. Jennifer's crushing. Merry Christmas to you too. You have to look at, literally bonds, just the S&P 500 so destroyed bonds from 1948 to about 1968. And it was so horrific in that 20-year time frame that the bonds will never recoup that ever. It's going to take hundreds and hundreds of years. So any long-term time frame that uses historical rates of return that has that 20-year time frame in there, stocks will always have an equity risk premium significantly above bonds because stocks did so much better than bonds in that 20-year time frame. Does that mean it can't happen again? I'm not saying that. But again, my prognostication based on Vanguard's which I completely agree with, is that bonds are paying 5% roughly, 4 to 5%. All right. That means stocks have to get earnings to hey, here's Harry. Right on, Harry. Right on. That means stocks have got to generate earnings significantly higher than what the projections are. Where's those earnings going to come from? Labor costs going up, the cost of finance money is going up, energy costs are going up. I mean, where are the earnings going to come from? And productivity is going down. I mean, does that mean stocks are a bust? No, but just where's the earnings? Remember, stocks growth are based on two things, and two things aren't, well, three things, but two are fundamental: earnings growth plus dividend yields, and then price and earnings appreciation or contraction. And that's just what people are willing to pay for $1 of earnings. So if people can get 5%, 4 to 5% in stocks and bonds, excuse me, are they more likely to pay more for $1 of earnings or less? They're less likely, which means that's contraction of PE ratios. I'm telling you, man, it's just as simple. If I can get 4 and 5%, me, perfect example of that. I am heavy in bonds and cash for the first time in a long time. I'm still in. So I'm not out of bond stocks. Don't get me wrong. I'm still 50% or whatever I am. I don't know exactly. Probably more than that stocks. But if I'm getting 5% on cash and my expectations for stocks are somewhere between 5 and 6, that makes stocks less valuable to me in terms of paying a premium for $1 of earnings. It's just that simple. Now, when the interest rates start falling on my cash and the bond market has done its due diligence, which is going to come back strong, I presume, then that changes things. I'm like, now I'm only getting 2% on cash. That means I'm willing to pay more for $1 of earnings on stocks. I hope this makes sense. It's a big, big fundamental, because I'm getting this question a lot. And I'm just, no, I say a lot, not hundreds of times, but enough that it's making my spidey senses tingle. Like, ooh. So what I've told people is get it while the getting's good. When should we jump back in? However that means, I can't remember what my man's got, is when the interest rates start going down. Why? Because that makes stocks inherently, it makes it easier to justify paying for $1 of earnings when competing assets are paying less. I don't teach you about time of the market. No, this is not time of the market at all, Mark. This is for people who are about to or recently retired. I say ride SPACs until you can ride it no more. 5%. We can get 5%. That's a golden goose with no downside risk. Especially if our model says you're going to be fine at 5.3% rate of return with a 10% or whatever it says, I think it was a 10% standard deviation. So it's not market timing at all. How long do you think we can ride this 5%? I mean, I'm going to ride it until the interest rates go down. I don't understand the question. How long do I think we can? I include my cash is all, Hugh, my cash is all in the Charles Schwab money market account. I forgot the ticker. It's SPACs for Fidelity, VFM, I can't remember what it was for Vanguard, and I can't remember what it is for Schwab, but it's all in government money market accounts. We took our livestock to process a grass-fed, look at right here, best investment ever. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how long we can ride this. I know I'm going to ride it until it stops. And when it stops is when the interest rates are going to start falling. When it happens, I don't know. I mean, that's why the bond market as a whole has jumped up incredibly high over the last month, because like Generation X was saying, Gen X was saying, is that he thinks have been priced in, essentially, that there are going to be rate cuts. I agree with that 100%. And there might not be. So that's the benefit of it. So let me just again describe why for me this is pretty easy to kind of draw here, and it might not make sense to you guys. That's fine. So right now we're getting 5% in money markets right now, 5%. So three things are going to happen. One of three things. That's it. The money markets are going to stay flat. They're going to go up or they're going to go down. One of three things is going to happen. All right. I think we can pretty much cross out the 5% money markets going up. But even if that happens, that's a good thing, because money markets have no downside volatility. So if interest rates rise, and I don't think that's going to happen, but let's just say they did, that's even better. We're making more money with no downside risk. All right. So if interest rates stay flat, I'm gonna and again, our model is based on a 5% rate of return success for a retirement plan, and interest rates stay flat, we're getting 5%. Why would we do anything? I would be like, if 5% is what we're shooting for, and that had a 10% standard deviation, remember, standard deviation, we times that by 3. All right, so 10% standard deviation, we times it by 3. That gives us a 30. Subtract by your expected rate of return. That's how much you expect in any year to be down. You'd expect 25% with a 10% standard deviation. I know I'm talking fast, but I'm just saying real quick. Our expected rate of return is 5%. We have a 10% standard deviation. Times that by 3, that's 30. Subtract by your expected rate of return, and that gives you, on your Monte Carlo scenario, a downside risk on any given year being down 25%. That's with a 5% rate of return. Well, guess what a money market is doing? There is no standard deviation in terms of downside. Really, it's just not there. So we're sitting tighty-whitey at 5%, just rolling, just riding this out because we've already done planning that said we're going to be fine at 5% with a 10% standard deviation. So inherently, we're going to be fine at 5% with no standard deviation. So why change? The only reason we'd change would be why? Well, because we'd like to get more. Because we see the S&P 500 this year is up 25%. We're like, man, I'd like to get some of that. Forgetting that last year is down 22% or whatever the hell it was. And we're still underwater from where we were last year. All right. So now let's just say the interest rates drop. All right. So we think rates going up, probably not going to happen. Rates staying flat, probably not going to happen. Rates will drop. So what happens when interest rates drop? Why would interest rates drop? Interest rates are going to drop because the economy is probably hurting for some reason. All right. Why is the economy hurting? Because the cost of to borrow money is higher. We have credit card debt that's higher. And on top of that, the cost to service your debt is higher, which means there's less spending you can do on other things. Remember, consumption drives economic growth. That's just a fact. So the more debt you have at a higher cost to service that debt, the less consumption you can make. These are just the facts, man. And paying off debt is reducing money supply as well. So when these things happen, what does that do for GDP growth? It doesn't make it look good. It just doesn't. PCE, personal consumption expenditures, is the biggest driver of GDP. So now we're sitting here thinking, okay, so the cost to service these credit card debts, student loan debts, people talk about mortgage, like new mortgages and all that. I don't buy that. But there are other consumer loan debts and other things like that a lot of Americans are stuck with that have higher and higher interest rates. And as such, that hurts their bottom line. It's just fact, which that stunts growth in the economy. 100%. So what we say, okay, at some point, the Fed says, we really need to stimulate this economy, and we're going to do so with interest rates cuts. And that has already been priced into the long-term bonds. Absolutely. Absolutely. But why is the long-term bonds forecast that? Because they feel, and at the end of the day, that the economy will either have a soft landing or a hard landing, but either way, the interest rates are going to be cut. So now the interest rates start getting cut. They don't just do it willy-nilly. A lot of times, potentially, there could be significant stock market declines for that. Now, we don't know that for sure. We don't know. But then we still got to go back to valuations of stocks. Now, anyone can do whatever they want. I don't care. It's just my premise. And I absolutely could be wrong. But if I'm wrong, sitting in money market accounts getting 5%, that's a pretty good place to be wrong. I'd rather be wrong sitting in money market accounts getting 5% than wrong in stocks where the markets could go down 30% if I'm about to retire or if I recently retired. All right. So anyway, we sit there and the interest rates are going down. Generally speaking, the stocks are going down too because the economy is hurting in terms of economic growth went up. Now, we don't know that to be true. That might not happen. I mean, there's no if, then, why. We don't know that. But you still got to account for where does earnings growth come from? Earnings growth is what drives stock prices, or PE increase. Price earnings increase, which means people are willing to pay more for $1 of earnings than they did the previous day. which is when people start getting a little bit more confident. So yeah, 25 PE. Yeah, I know that's high relative to normal states, but I'm willing to pay 30 for a dollar of earnings. Ooh, 30 for a dollar of earnings. I'm willing to pay 35 for a dollar of earnings. Yeah, well, we don't want to rely on people's assumption that they're willing to pay more for a dollar of earnings in terms of our stock prognostications. We don't. We want to rely on earnings growth plus dividend yield. Dividend yield is still in the crapper. Earnings growth is what's going to drive stocks. If anyone is out there thinking and this is where my investment course goes into, by the way, which will be done by the end of this year, and I can't wait. If anyone is going out there thinking that they're going to rely on stock, the greater fool theory, that I have a price to earnings ratio of 25 and someone's going to buy my stock from me at 26 PE, that's kind of like Bitcoin speculation, is it not? Yes, it is. You're saying someone's going to buy this from me at a higher price to earnings than me. And then that someone would say, I'm going to buy it at 26 PE as opposed to 25 because I think I can sell for 27. And then you got to say to yourself, well, why? Why do you think that's going to happen? Because there's a greater fool out there than me. That's literally what it is. Because at that point, you're not basing on fundamentals, you're based on speculation. Fundamentals are earnings growth plus dividend yields. What I'm saying. Earnings, look, you can read John Bogle. I mean, read this is I forgot the guy's name, but it's just reading about before Bogle, even. Not Markowitz. I forgot. But there was another guy back in the 50s. Who the hell was it, man? It wasn't Dodd. Graham. I can't remember. It wasn't Buffett. I forgot who it was. I was just reading about him about a month ago, too. I can't remember. Anyway, earnings growth is what drives stocks. Where's the earnings growth come from? Higher energy prices, higher labor cost. Still got supply chain issues. Red Sea, that's a big issue right here for supply chains. There's still a Panama Canal is still hurting. You know what I'm saying? The green lobby, while they take on the chin, they're still evil out there. I don't think it was Munger, Jennifer. It wasn't one. I can see in my book too, man. That I had. I just can't remember. It was a guy. Anyway, it was a pretty prominent guy in the investment world. And he said this pre-Bogle, who the hell was it? I can't remember. It wasn't Munger though. That might have been it, but it wasn't who I was reading. But anyway, earnings growth plus dividend yields. That's where we get stock performance. If earnings growth is going up, then you can justify a higher PE, I suppose. I don't think you should, but you could. If earnings growth goes down, then how are you going to justify a higher PE? To justify your premise that stocks have more upside, especially when you're sitting here right now with relatively, I don't want to say frothy price earnings ratios, but certainly high historically. And it used to be the old days, we could say the reason PE ratios are high historically is why? Because the bond yields are so low. Well, those days are now over. Those days are now over. The bond yields are higher than they've been in many, many years. So the old days, we could say, well, the historical price earnings ratios was about 16 in the S&P 500. Well, that's because bond yields average 5. Well, bond yields average 2. You could say that's why we can get a 25 PE ratio. Well, those days are gone now. The bond yields aren't 2% anymore. They're 4 and 5. And well, I guess 4. 10-year treasuries at 4. So, I mean, maybe you can argue that you can have a PE ratio higher than 20, but certainly not 30 in terms of historical numbers. I mean, you could. But again, all goes back to you won the game, stop playing. And if I'm getting 5% and I'm comfortable with that, and that's getting the job done, why would I change anything? Other than I think I'm missing out. And that's not a good investment, just for sure. So Mark was saying a couple of things about asset allocation. I just want to talk about this. Yeah, it's right there for bigger return. Look, you might be right, dude. I'm just telling you, if I'm recently retired or about to retire, the last thing I need is a 2008 market where the S&P was down 37%. I don't need that. I still got a significant portfolio in stocks because I'm 53 years old. I'm still going to work for another, odd amount of years. If I'm about to retire and I'm stepping off that precipice. Remember the precipice, I'm looking down at the freaking black below me. I'm getting ready to step off. I don't know, just a bear market is tough, man. I've seen it with my own eyes with clients. They get nervous. They start getting scared. They start losing sleep at night, stressing. And when you're getting 2% and 1% of money markets, that's one thing. When you're getting 5%, man, if you've won the game, stop playing. When have you lost the game? When the interest rates go down. How much? I don't know. To be determined. Yeah. Okay. I thought you're cutting back on stocks is not market timing. 100%. There's my man Roger Dodger. My Social Security goes directly to my SPACs account. 100%, Jill. I don't call it time to market cut back on stock allocation when near retirement. Or if you have like I'm self-employed. My wife doesn't work. I still got kids. I mean, see what I'm saying? So I paid a crap load of taxes last year and I've just barely dug out from underneath that. So I needed to have, and I was cash empty, if that makes sense. So given for 2023, I was cash empty because I had to pay a lot of taxes. I said, I better have some cash in case things go south. I still got a mortgage, not a huge mortgage, but a mortgage nonetheless. You know what I'm saying? And I still got kids. They got freaking expensive raising kids, man. That's just fact. I mean, all kinds of crap comes at me every which way to Sunday for children. It's nuts. And I wouldn't have it any other way. But I said, I can't be in stocks 100% anymore because my cash is gone. And so I had to raise cash. And I did so by selling some of my VTI and putting it over into cash. 100%. I maybe sleep better. I slept like a champ, dude. I said I got enough cash to cover a long enough time for me. If I need to go dig ditches, I'll go dig ditches. But I got enough cash to cover that, and I felt good, man. It made me a hell of a lot safer knowing that full well that once my cash was gone, I had the ability to raise some funds and put in cash and making 5%. It just felt great. Felt great. I was like, oh, because I remember I was like, man. Going to bed at night, I said, I should pull the trigger. I should pull the trigger. I don't know. And then the market go up. So I'm glad I didn't pull the trigger. And I says, I can't deal with this anymore. If things go south, I need to make sure I got a freaking safety net. I need to have cash. I still have stocks. And people say, oh, it's market timing. I don't care. Literally don't care. You call me market timer. I don't care. I said, my personal circumstances were I had my cash was drawn to basically nothing. I didn't have any cash. I don't want to go into debt if things go south, and I don't want to sell stocks if things go south. But I have kids, I got a mortgage, and these things got to get paid. So if all things fell to hell in a handbasket, YouTube bans me, no one else to hire me anymore, I still need money to pay the mortgage, to pay food on the table. Where's that money come from? Well, it's going to come from my investments, and my investments are all in stocks, and we have another 2008. Because this is exactly what happened to me in 2008. I've never happened to that again. Did I miss out? Yeah, missed out. Some returns, 100%. Do I care? No, because I'm still getting 5% in cash. Did I miss out on my bonds? Actually, a little bit too early to the thing there. It's a little bit too early. So I still got spanked. I'm back to even now. And in my last purchase of long-term bonds, I'm in the green, which is good. Not nearly to the extent I want to be, but I think there's more to come yet. We shall see. We shall see. It's not market timing when your circumstances change. This is what freaking idiots say all the time. You're market timing. No, that's not market timing. You change your investments to reflect your current circumstance, people. This isn't market timing. Market timing is like my man said, I'm going to get back in the late January, early February. Why? Because my technical analysis says, that's just stupid. I hate that crap. You can do it I don't care. And my 200-day moving average says, I say, okay, that's fine. That's market timing. When your circumstances change and you don't change the way your assets in which you have to pay the bills, that's just stupid, in my opinion. My circumstances are changed. I got a new baby. Oh, but I'm going to have all stocks. I don't want to be accused of market timing. How much cash you have? I don't have any. You got a mortgage? Yes, but I don't want to be market timing. Okay, that's just stupid. I'm sorry. I hate that. Oh, so dumb. I mean, so this right here, you adjust your portfolio based on business. I literally can't understand how Mark doesn't get this. I don't understand it. This is weird to me. We're not basing it on business activity, Mark. We're basing it on personal activity. People's circumstances change. Their portfolio should change with it so they can go to bed, rest easily at night. Mark, why is this so hard for people to understand? We just retired. We don't want a 37% decline because I have to start pulling money from my portfolio. When the portfolio is down 37%, a la 2008, I literally have 63% left on 100% what I had before, but I still need money to pay the bills. Why is this hard for people to understand? People say it's market timing. Bull pucky it is. It's freaking you're timing your personal situation. This isn't difficult, people. If you're still paying, you're still sitting there in a solid job, freaking go nuts. Put it all into stocks. I don't care. That's what you should do. If you're self-employed and you find yourself at a cash deficit, well, guess what? If you're all in stocks, you might rue the day. You might be great. That's pure speculation. You still have bills to pay. The money has to come from someplace. The money's going to come from your labor or from your portfolio. One of those two things. If the labor stops, the money's got to come from your portfolio. Does it not? Yes, it does. So how do we generate cash to pay that? Well, we should be all in stocks because we don't want to be accused of market timing. That's dumb. That is dumb. Do people not get this? Oh, but when should I get back in? Well, if it worked at 5% rate of return, why would we get back in? The only reason we get back in, and again, I don't know what everyone's circumstances are, but to have a nice lump sum of money over here, getting 5%, so I can take that money out to pay the bills, man, does that work very well because the income has stopped coming in. I got fired, I retired, I lost my labor, my income. Not hard to comprehend this stuff, I don't think. Maybe some people that do because they're so, oh, market timing. Oh, it drives freaking nuts, dude. It's like the 4% rule. Oh, the 4. Oh, it just drives me insane because it's so stupid. It's like, do people actually, can they think for 2 seconds flat? My personal situation has changed. I need income. The income comes from two places, my portfolio, my labor. How do I generate that income? I have to sell assets. Do I want to sell risk assets or non-risk assets? I think I'd rather not sell non-risk assets. I think so too. Non-risk assets right now are paying what? Count them, baby. 5%. 5%. So for every $100,000 of non-risk assets, I'm getting $5,000 a year of interest. Yes, you are. No risk. Yes. And my retirement planning was based on basically 5% rate of return. Yes. But it also had a 25% decline. Yes. So I'm getting 5% with no decline. Yes. But my success rate was phenomenal at 5% with the 25% potential. Yes. So inherently 5% is the goal. Yes. And if I can get that goal with no risk, why would I take the risk? You're getting it. Why would you take the risk? Well, because I want 8%. Oh, do it. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. Just don't come back to me when we have down 37%. I said, man, I said, no. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. We didn't want to market time. We want to stay in the market so we could get that 8%. Why? Because the markets last year in 2023 stopped. Okay. Guess what? We're still way ahead of where we were in 2015, 2012, 2019. We're just not where we were ahead of 2020, 22. If people can't comprehend this, I'm not the channel for you guys. I'm just not. This is just basic common sense to me. And I know that comes hard in this day and age. But if people can't understand that people's personal situation changes, I don't understand. They say, because they use this almost like a freaking whip, like your market timing. How dare you? Don't you know? Don't time the market. It's so freaking stupid. Yes, I don't believe in 200-day moving averages. I don't believe in technical analysis. None of that crap. Dorsey Wright. I like Dorsey Wright. That program. I used to use that a lot. I just don't believe it. I don't think there's any model that's, oh my goodness, it's freaking God's gift, as if no one else knows about that. We had a guy on here too, my man. What the hell is that guy's name? Spanish guy. I forgot his name, from California. He got off here because he didn't like my opinion on reverse mortgages because they're not scams. And his wife is a realtor too. I said, why are you so against them? So they cost a lot. I said, yeah. So doesn't refinancing mortgage cost a lot? That's weird. It doesn't. What the hell was his name? Alejandro? It wasn't Alejandro. I can't remember. But anyway, and he got on to me about market timing too, the same kind of concept. And I said, dude, you're the guy who talks about 200-day moving averages. I couldn't believe it. He's like, oh, your market timing. You know, that's bad. And he's the guy who said, I looked at the 200-day moving average and said, that's literally the epitome of market timing. I'm not doing that at all. I'm doing it because your personnel situation has changed. Anyway, all right. So that's all I got to say about that. If people can't comprehend, that's fine. I don't care. I'll go down myself alone on this YouTube channel, fighting the myth of market timing as if it's somehow some kind of it's like, you know, you're freaking kissing the devil on the cheek or something like that. It's insane to me. People get so wrapped up in this stuff. Let's just go back to common sense, day-to-day activity and say, what's the best way for me, your old buddy Josh, to make it through the day so I don't get crushed like what happened in 2008? Maybe many of y'all didn't have the same experience I had in 2008. Let me tell you, dude, it was freaking scary. And I was also dealing with clients. Let me tell you, talking to some of these guys who had to sell their houses and go live in some freaking townhome in a bad part of town with their 3 kids and his wife with an MS, multiple sclerosis, because he had overbought, over leveraged. He was a builder. I'll never forget the guy in Tennessee. I'll never get this. Wife has MS, can't work. Got 3 young kids. He over leveraged himself. No other way around it. The real estate, and he was a builder, and he got crushed. Lost his job, had to sell his house underwater, rented some townhouse, only but for the grace of God could they get this, because they couldn't even afford that because there's no building going on. And that's what he did. He's a builder. He said, I'll never forget this too. Another guy, a builder up in, I want to say Nebraska. I think it was Missouri, actually, western Missouri. He said, dude, Josh, I was hanging on by a thread. He goes, I will never, ever take debt again. And he's successful. He goes, but I was paying my people out of my own money because he didn't have a huge investment portfolio. And we got talking about it. He goes, I sold everything to basically keep my people employed. And I sold it for a massive amount of loss. And it sucked. He goes, I will never take debt again, ever. And I said, he was literally, it was like what people talk about the Great Depression. He goes, I will never forget that because I did not know and I thought I was going bankrupt. Everything I had saved for, I thought was gone. Everything. He thought he would have to sell some of his rentals and whatnot. He's like, I was down to I want to keep my real estate because I know real estate. I sold all my stocks. I had to keep my employees on. And I said, but it was coming to an end where I didn't have any cash flow. And not only am I selling my stocks, they're down. Remember, from October 1st, 2007 to March 9th of 2009, market was down 57%. 57. He wasn't all in stocks, but we'll just say he's down 25% for simplicity. He's down a quarter of his capital. And he's selling it to keep his employees paid, to keep them fed, because there's nothing for him to do. He's a humble guy, Christian guy. He goes, I have to take care of them. I got to. And finally, he was able to pick himself out back 2012, after 4 turmoil years. And he started getting some cash flow going again. And he's doing okay now, but he's not a millionaire. I'll tell you that right now. He could easily borrow a bunch of money, build a bunch of stuff. He's like, I'll never borrow again. Never want to see that happen again. And that's what happened to me, man. I'm like, if I can get by on 5% with no risk, and the model says I can get by on 5%, my model, which is pretty doggone conservative, I'm sitting tight. Now that I don't want to put my 2008 experience onto you guys. You guys do whatever the hell you want. I don't care. But man, I never want to go through that again. 4 young kids, 2 Irish twins, a mortgage. We moved to Texas. We bought a bigger house than we should have, and it worked out. But man, because your eyes just bold. It's like, man, we can afford this because we could qualify for the mortgage for it, which of course means you can afford it. Yeah, as long as the job sits. What if the job goes bankrupt? What if the job stops? Ugh. Let's see what you guys want to say. We'll wrap up here. But Sergio, a lot of people think it is, man. A lot of people think de-risking is a market timing. I don't understand it. And a lot of the same people, and I'm not picking on Mark here. He's just one who said moving your accounts based on business. So I'm not talking like that. I've never said anything like that at all. I never will. I'm talking about personal experience and personal situations, but that ticks me off. The idea that's even crossing my head. It's just not. And I'm not mad at the guy. I'm just like, Mark, come on, man. You've been around here for so long. Why would you think of a market timer? Because I get these not saying Mark was doing this, but these snotty comments on my own YouTube channel. Market timing never works out well. That just is so freaking stupid. I just get these snotty comments all the time, like, oh, and I'm not gonna respond to them because it's idiotic. But we're not timing it based on the business cycle. That's dumb. But a lot of the same people also say reverse mortgages are scams. It was just this, again, it's idiotic. This is where is people's assets in their portfolios or in their equity? It's in the equity of their home, man. To just assume that an opportunity to access your equity in your home is a scam when the majority of net worth is in people's equity in their home. It's just sitting there untouched, and yet they're losing sleep at night. They're staying in a crappy job. They're getting heavy. Their freaking blood pressure is going through the roof because it's a crappy job, and they're sitting on $400,000 of equity when they could take $200,000 out and spend it tax free, which alleviates some of the pressure off their portfolio. Then they get Social Security. I'm like, not to look at these things. It just, I just don't get it, man. I'm like, why? Oh, because it costs too much to do a reverse mortgage. Okay, so you wouldn't refinance? Well, yeah, but I'm saving money. A reverse mortgage, you're literally not paying anything. You're not paying. There's no out-of-pocket. There's no cash flow. You're not spending anything. When you're refinancing, you still got a mortgage. A reverse mortgage, there is no debt obligation while you're alive. Yes, you have to pay it back at your death. Theoretically, your kids might never get any value out of it, but you aren't going to be a burden to them, most likely. You could be. I mean, anything could happen. But I mean, in terms of the likelihood of your house not having any leftover equity, when you can only borrow, 43% until you're like 75 years old or something like that, 50% at 70, there's still half the equity in your house you can't touch anyway. So the idea that the loan on your mortgage is going to gobble up this equity and any appreciation, it could happen. Okay, guess what? It's a non-recourse loan. Your kids don't have to own anything to the bank. You just walk, your estate walks away. Bank, you take it. The likelihood of that happening is quite low. It could, but your kids aren't on the hook for any loan. They're not going to be thrown in a debtor's prison. As long as you stay in the house, you're not on the hook. Oh, the sheriff can come kick you out. Oh, my goodness. Don't pay your property tax. Even if you're debt free, the sheriff can come put you out. Oh, so stupid. The bank can come and inspect it to make sure you're blah, blah, blah. Okay. The bank's going to come inspect. They're going to come and look under your freaking carpets to make sure no termites. Really? Really? Give me a break. I mean, this is ridiculous. Do you really think the bank is, are you that bad at maintaining your home that the bank's going to come put you out? Come on. I mean, it could. The bank has a right to inspect it. They can say, hey, Josh, we don't like the fact that you hung an American flag up there. I mean, it's preposterous. The banks would drive by your house if they even do. They probably won't, but if they did, they say, yeah, the house looks like it's in pretty good shape. Now, obviously, everyone has to make that circumstance themselves. They got to look into themselves, what their freaking contract says. I'm not giving you legal advice here. I'm just saying, give me a break. Are you that kind of person that doesn't maintain your house? No, the answer is you're going to maintain your house. So I wouldn't be worried at all about the bank coming in inspecting and say, oh, we're going to put you out. I'm not worried at all about the sheriff coming in because you didn't pay your property tax, not in the least. I'm just not worried about that at all because you have your house. You pay the property tax. The expense of doing a reverse mortgage, yeah, it's high. But again, I went to refinance my mortgage a couple years ago. It's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to pay the equivalent of whatever the hell it was, 7 mortgage payments to refinance my debt. I just wasn't going to do that. But people do it all the time. And yet they still have an outgoing cash flow. So the cash flow going out the door. Oh, so crazy. I'm like, but you could do reverse mortgage and have no cash flow going out. Yeah, but, Dave Ramsey says you're going to take my home. And on top, so here's my man Chucky B. He sold some equities this year, but stock to bond ratio still increased. Is that market timing when you're taking gains off the table? Are we? Because what's up, market timing if you're rebalancing? Well, yeah, it is. You're timing the market. You're selling stocks, putting in more bonds. That's market timing. Oh, it's so freaking stupid. One of my biggest pet peeves. One of my biggest pet peeves. This market timing thing is because people live by it. I'm sure the bogleheads are all like, "You, how dare you, Chuck B, sell stocks? Don't you know the trend? Follow the trends." Ugh. It's not market timing to sell to take gains. Take some flipping gains, man. No one ever tells me maybe I don't know. I've been doing this for a long time. I can't say specifically. Man, I wish I didn't take those gains. I wish I didn't. And maybe they had a bunch of Apple stock or something like that, or freaking I don't know. Let's say very rarely have everyone had said, "Man, I locked in some gains." Now I had me. I took gains on Exxon, and the reason I'm mad is 'cause I put in a UGI, and Exxon proceeded to go up, and the UGI proceeded to go down. But I mean, it is what it is. I didn't take the gains and lock in the cash. I took the gains and put in a different stock. And that was a mistake on my end. But be that as it may, I doubled my money Exxon. I lost half in UGI, so I was right back where I was. But I'm still getting the dividends on UGI, so I'm still building shares and all that. But that wasn't really taking gains. That is saying I'm going to sell a stock that's doubled and buy a stock that I think is undervalued, and I was wrong. Exxon continued to double again. UGI went south, and I was like, ugh. And be that as it may, that's not taking gains. Taking gains is doing what Chuck says, selling some equities to building up his bond portfolio. Right here, we got right here. My man Tom had a rental house complete remodel in 2020 for a song because we found a builder who needed to keep his people employed. Yep, 100%. Irish twins, they're born in the same calendar year. Same calendar year, that's what it means. They're not maternal twins, they're born in the same calendar year. Yeah, haircut is looking good, Hugh. I am a good looking guy. And if I went your way, Hugh, I might be interested, but I'm just not that kind of guy. I like the ladies, Hugh, but I appreciate your comments on my looks. Yeah, maybe in a different universe, we might be able to, but in this case, not. I'm serious calluses for a financial guy. That's just from weightlifting. All right. Anyway, so I hope Mark's still here. Just, yeah. Hey. I don't get what you're saying. Old Josh isn't pissed, bewildered. I'm not pissed. I'm just like, dude, Mark, how can you possibly say it's market timing? It doesn't make sense to me, dude. I don't get it, man. How about interest rates just being returned for retirement? So I don't. It's like, dude, for the first time in my career, retirees are being rewarded for not taking risk. How is that not a good thing? And if it violates, I probably got too many windows up there, Andrew. If that violates the sacrosanct market timing, then freaking, string me up. I just don't get it. I don't understand. We're being rewarded as savers for the first time in decades. And if the numbers show that we can do this and do our retirement planning projections just fine, why would we not look at that? It doesn't make sense. Exactly. No, it doubled pulverizer. I said, learning from my mom. I always sold too early. That's what she always told me. I always sold too early. But what she said was, I always sold too early. And that means I always locked in gains. And so for me, locking those double returns on Exxon meant I could take a 50% loss in UGI and still be back where I was. But selling too early is never a bad thing. I'm just telling you right now. I mean, you can make an argument with Amazon, I grant you, or Apple, right? I mean, there's always an exception to the rule. You can make an argument, but yeah. Well, here's Tom. He sold LMT to Lockheed Martin in 2013. In fact, my man here talks about. No, it wasn't this book. It's my other book I'm reading from Peter Drucker from 1973, 75. talks about Sears. That's what it was, a Sears Roebuck. How people made mint in Sears Roebuck, and everyone's like, we should have been like Sears. And then Peter says, well, how about these companies? And he just lists all these different companies that it's just a different, like, same thing with Apple. I should invest in Apple. And you're like, well, how about all these companies? How did you know Apple would be the way to go at that? You didn't, man. And Tom, you didn't know what Lockheed Martin was going to do. No one knew. No one knew. Again, and please, for the love of the good Lord, when I'm saying take risk off the table, I'm not saying don't have any stocks necessarily. Every situation is unique. I'm saying, dude, I'm not saying take all the risk. I'm not saying don't have any risk assets necessarily. You might be, depending on the situation. But I'm sitting there thinking, for our first 2 years, because I do believe in sequence of return risk, I can get 5% a year on $1 million portfolio. That's $50,000 a year. No risk at all. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. And I can still succeed financially in my retirement plans. Yeah, I think I'm going to run with that. That doesn't sound so bad. But your market timing, Josh, don't you know? I'm not market timing. I'm timing the fact that I just retired. I need some money. Money's got to come from someplace. The one thing I don't want is the sequence of return risk. And there's some YouTube guys that he debunked sequence of return risk. No, he didn't. I think I did a video on that. I can't remember. Maybe I didn't. I will. But yeah. Dude, if you're still working and your job is stable, man, if you're into stocks, keep being into stocks. I got no qualm with that. Keep plugging away. You're putting money in, put money in. I'm still putting money into VTI, for heaven's sake. Put $1,000 every 2 weeks into VTI. Plug. Again, you look at your portfolio, you look at where your cash is coming. If the cash is coming from a job that's on the ice, that's not very solid, on thin ice, excuse me, you might want to market time and take some of that portfolio, which is still way up from where it was 10, 15 years ago, and take some of that and dump it over here. I'm market timing. Okay, but I got cash to pay the bills if things go south. I still got my other stuff over here. If you're in a solid job, your freaking union job at the government or something like that, where they can't fire you, or you're Claudia Gay at freaking Harvard where you can't get fired, dude, by all means, if you like the stocks and you're aggressive like that, keep it. Like, I can all call with that. None whatsoever. It's all good, Mark. Mark's just in the Philippines, man. The Philippines is messing up his head. When Mark come back to Montana, he'll be in a different spirits. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Exactly, pulverizer. The military industrial complex companies. Yep, exactly. Yeah, with Mark, you're all right by me. I don't care what they say. But, well, 100%. I could not agree that more. 100%. Best Buy. I don't even know if Best Buy is still a stock. Circuit City is probably what I'm talking about. There's so many. The peak. Anyway, so it seemed like I was yelling at Mark. I wasn't yelling at Mark. I was yelling at the people who keep saying I'm market timing because I'm saying, because they don't get it. Mark's smart enough to get it. Mark just likes to freaking get under my skin. He's good at it, kind of like Pulverizer. Pulverizer does it in a different way. Mark does it in his own Filipino wife way. I bet Mark's Filipino wife's like, Mark, shut up. I bet Mark's Filipino wife has got him by the kahunas. You know what I'm saying? And when Mark gets out of line, she just squeezes like that. That's why Mark is trying to link up with CB in the Philippines, because Mark's like, look, I need a break from my Filipino wife because she's squeezing him tough. I need a break. I need to hang out with a fella because she's got me by the kahunas. And every time I open my mouth, she squeezes. She says, Mark, shut up. I'm in charge. And Mark's like, yes, ma'am. Yes. And she goes, when we get back to Montana, you can be in charge. But while you're here, here's my hand. Here's your kahunas. And I'm squeezing like a vice grip. And Mark's like, oh my goodness, I should have stayed in Montana. But my woman is so pretty. I can't resist. Exactly. The ladies know what they're doing to us dudes. All right. I'm going to get out of here, man. Good stuff. I'm going to go watch The Gilded Age with my wife. I've heard that's a decent show. The Gilded Age. Charlotte does not like the actors in there or something like that, but I like those time series from the set. I love the 1800 stuff. 1800s. My wife took me out for. Oh man, my wife took me out at breakfast. A Filipino cap told Bill was 2 for $9.50, and guess who paid? Mark's Kahuna's wife squeeze. Guess who paid that bill? Wife said, "Mark, you're paying." Actually, do they tip in the Philippines? I don't know. Pay the bills while doing cool stuff. That's my goal when working. 100%. I don't know what FNCP is, brother. Wife paid. All right, good. I think we're back on good terms. Look, I don't want to come across like I'm being mad. I'm not. I just, some things get under my skin. 50-cent tip is good, man. Look at Legacy Studio. I need to be an asshole in the room when everybody else is blowing smoke. You're probably good at that, Legacy. You're probably the biggest asshole in the room. Any room you go into, you're probably good at it. And yeah, I can see it's very important to you, 100%. And I think you're doing a great job. An A for effort and an A for being the biggest A, if that makes sense. All right. God bless, guys. Merry Christmas, y'all. Appreciate y'all being here live on Locals on Wednesday. And we'll see you again on Saturday next week. God bless. We'll see you, man. I'm going to go market time.